y'all, it's Shannon Hicks here at Lehman Library, back with another Real Talk story time. I have a kind of an obvious confession. I love libraries. My earliest memories of libraries are with my dad, who used to take my brother and I to the main branch of the Street Memorial Library every Saturday, and we could check out as many books as we wanted. That was such a good memory for me, probably the reason that I became a librarian. So those times mean so much to me that I can't imagine not being able to enjoy them. Today I have a book to share with you about a boy who actually grew up to be an astronaut, but before he was an astronaut, he had something big that he had to do first. So let's hear about Ron's Big Mission, written by Rose Blue and Corinne J. Naden, illustrated by one of my favorite artists, Don Tate. "You're up early this morning, Ron. What's the rush?" asked Mrs. McNair. "Come and have your breakfast. I made some oatmeal." "I have to go, Mama," said Ron, tying his sneakers. "I have something to do this morning." "You always have something to do," said his mother with a smile. "Just be home by lunchtime, okay?" Ron was 9 years old. That morning he left his house with a plan. He'd been thinking about it for a long time. It was a beautiful South Carolina summer day, and Ron looked up at the blue, blue sky. Someday, he thought, he would be up there, flying a plane. He wanted to be a pilot when he grew up, but today, Ron had something else on his mind, something very important. Ron walked down the street as fast as he could. He didn't want to be late. "Hi, Ron," the grocer called from the front of his store. "There you are, just in time for a donut." "Morning, Mr. Douglas," said Ron. "Thank you, but there's someplace I've got to be." And Ron kept on walking. Down by the schoolyard, Ron saw his friend Carl shooting baskets. "All right, you made it," called Carl. "Hey, Carl," said Ron, "I wish I could stay, but I've got something important to do." "More important than basketball on summer vacation?" said Carl. "Are you kidding?" Ron laughed. He loved to play basketball, but not today. Today was too important. Ron kept on walking. Now he's passed up a donut and shooting baskets with his buddy. This must be an important mission. When Ron got to the Lake City Public Library, he stopped. This was it. He was hot from walking so fast, and he was nervous too. He took a deep breath, lifted his head high, and went inside. Mrs. Scott was busy getting ready for all the people who would be using the library today. As the head librarian, she had to make sure that everything was neat and orderly, just like we do here at Lehman. Mrs. Scott looked up to welcome her first visitor of the day. She smiled as Ron walked in. He was her best customer. Ron gave a little wave to Mrs. Scott and went right to the shelves. It took Ron a while to find some books. He always looked for books that showed children who looked like him. But that was hard. There were not many books about black kids on the shelves. At last, Ron found some books on airplanes. He took the books and started to walk to the front desk. Ron felt nervous, and his hands felt a little sweaty, but he knew what he wanted to do. Mrs. Fielding, a white lady who was often in the library, stopped him. "You can give me the books and I'll check them out for you, Ron," she said gently. "No thanks, Mrs. Fielding," Ron said. "I'm going to do it all by myself." "But Ron," she started to say. Ron was already on his way to the front desk. He put the books on the counter. "I'd like to check these out, please," said Ron. The desk clerk didn't look at him. Didn't she hear me? Ron wondered. Ron knew what he had to do. He jumped up on the counter, feet and all, y'all. He wanted the desk clerk to know he was serious. "I'd like to check out these books," he said quietly. At first, the desk clerk and Mrs. Scott just looked at each other. "You know you can't check out books, Ron," said Mrs. Scott. "You can read them here. That's the rule. Only white people can check out books from the library." Ron looked at Mrs. Scott and the desk clerk politely, but he would not budge. "I always read them here. Today, I want to check them out," said Ron. Mrs. Scott and the desk clerk did not know what to do. Ron wouldn't get off the counter. People were staring. Finally, the desk clerk called the Lake City police. 2 policemen came right over. "Let someone check out the books for you, son," said one of the policemen. "You know the rules." But Ron shook his head. He would not budge. Now Mrs. Scott called Ron's mother. Mrs. McNair came to the library very quickly. "I know how you feel, baby," she said, "but you have to follow the rules." "I can't, Mama," Ron told her. "It's wrong. The rules are not fair. Why can't I check out books like everyone else?" No one said anything. Not the desk clerk, not Mrs. Scott, not the policeman, not even Ron's mother. Mrs. Scott looked at Ron. She thought about all the times that Ron came into the library and all the times he sat at the tables for hours looking over so many books. He was their best customer, and she knew what she had to do. Mrs. Scott walked back into her office and started writing. Ron wondered what she was doing. He's still on the counter at this point, though, y'all. Mrs. Scott returned and handed Ron a library card. His library card. Ron looked at Mrs. Scott and smiled. As he jumped to the floor, he thought he saw her smile too. "I'd like to check these books out, please," he said, handing the card to the desk clerk. The desk clerk took his library card and stamped the cards in the back of the books. "These are due back in 2 weeks," she said. Ron smiled. "Thank you," he said. He tucked the books under his arm and took his mother's hand. Together they walked home. Ron couldn't wait to get to his room to open to page 1. The end. This book is great for so many reasons. I want y'all to know that the obvious hero is Ron, but think about some of the other people in the book. The head librarian, the police officers, his mom. Sometimes it takes a little courage to do the right thing, but it's always worth it in the end. We've linked below in the comments a video from StoryCorps that'll explain this story and a lot more about Ron, who was pretty awesome. So, until next time, keep reading and keep questioning. And use that library card.